My wife demanded I apologize to her male best friend after I caught them flirting in 3 a.m. text messages. When I called him on speaker, he asked, "Is the dumbass asleep yet?" and exposed their months-long affair that destroyed our marriage. The call that shattered everything came at exactly 3:17 a.m. on a Tuesday. I stumbled to the bathroom half asleep and saw the blue glow coming off Rachel's phone on the nightstand. Already, quietly, I'd started saving screenshots. She had no idea. I'm not the suspicious type. Never had time for that kind of drama in 8 years together. But the buzzing wouldn't stop. My stomach twisted like I'd swallowed glass. Call it intuition. Call it paranoia. When your wife's phone lights up like a Christmas tree at 3 a.m., while she's supposedly asleep beside you, you don't roll over and count sheep till dawn. The messages were all from Marcus. Her childhood best friend from high school recently moved back to town after a messy divorce. You know the type. The guy who always had a reason to text during our dinner dates. Who'd show up unannounced with boutique coffee just because he was thinking about her. Who somehow knew her work schedule better than I did after 3 years of marriage. The same Marcus who called her beautiful every chance he got. Who made inside jokes at family gatherings that pointedly left me out. Can't wait to see you again tomorrow night. Gorgeous. 3 kissing emojis. Ethan's working late again, isn't he? You looked absolutely stunning in that red sundress at lunch yesterday. Couldn't stop thinking about how perfect you looked. Each line hit like a punch to the gut. I boxed a little in college. Trust me, this hurt worse than anything I took in the ring. The casual mention of my schedule. The compliments. The obvious planning of secret meetups while I sat there oblivious. Rachel woke up around 7:30, stretching, yawning, not a single crack in her expression. No guilt. I was already at the kitchen table, her phone sitting square in front of me on the granite counter. The evidence just sat there, glowing like a neon sign in downtown Vegas. Impossible to explain away. "Morning, sweetheart," she said, cheerful, reaching for her favorite mug. The one with sunflowers on it. The one we bought together in Tuscany 2 summers ago. "You're up early. Sleep okay? We need to talk," I said, calm. I slid the phone across the table. Her face ran through more colors than a mood ring. Pale first, then flushed red, then white again, like the reality of getting caught hit her all at once. I expected tears, a confession, some kind of apology. Instead, she went on the attack, like a cornered animal. "You went through my phone without my permission?" Her voice climbed high enough to call every dog in a 3-block radius. "Ethan, how could you violate my privacy like that? I trusted you to respect my boundaries, and you betrayed that trust snooping through my private conversations." Violate her privacy? I'm sitting there with concrete proof my wife of 3 years had been running some kind of emotional affair, planning secret meetups behind my back, and she's worried about her privacy rights. Not the affair, her rights. Sometimes I wonder if people take classes on how to flip a script that fast. Because Rachel's performance deserved an award. "These text messages are completely innocent between old friends," she snapped, snatching the phone back from my hands. "Marcus is my oldest friend, practically a brother, since we were teenagers." A pause. "You're being ridiculously paranoid, just like you always get whenever I keep friendships with other people. Especially men who knew me before you did." That stung worse than a swarm of hornets. Because it was false. I'd never been the jealous type. Not once, in any relationship, in my whole adult life. Hell, I was the one always pushing her to keep her friendships alive. Even when Marcus started getting too comfortable in our house. Borrowing our Netflix password, raiding our fridge, staying for dinner without ever being invited. "Innocent," I repeated. My voice sounded as hollow as I felt. "Rachel, he's calling you gorgeous at midnight, commenting on your body, talking about my work schedule like he's timing something around when I'm gone. This isn't friendly banter. This is 2 people meeting while I'm at work." Her hands shook pouring the coffee, ceramic clinking against the pot, nervous, uneven. Her calm was a mask, and it was slipping. "You're reading way too much into normal banter," she said. "Marcus has always been flirtatious. That's just his personality. He talks like that to everyone. His sister, his coworkers. It doesn't mean anything. Because every platonic male friend tells his buddy's wife he can't stop thinking about her dress. Sure, happens in healthy marriages all the time. Here's where it got interesting. She didn't stop at defending the messages. She doubled down. Either full delusion or something closer to strategy. "You know what you need to do," she said, arms crossed, giving me the look she reserves for when I forget the garbage. Call Marcus. Apologize for being suspicious. I blinked. Once. Twice. I'm sorry, what? Call him right now and apologize for being paranoid, she repeated, that authoritative edge in her voice. Like she'd already decided how this would end. He's been a loyal friend to both of us this whole time. You're treating him like a criminal for staying close to me since high school. Prove you trust this marriage. Call him. Say you're sorry for doubting him. The audacity was almost impressive. But I've learned something about handling crazy. Sometimes the smartest move is to lean straight into it. Let people dig their own hole while you hand them the shovel. I looked at my wife. 8 years of loving her. 3 years married. Every secret I'd ever trusted her with. And I nodded slowly. You're right, I said, reaching for the phone, calm as anything. I've been completely paranoid about an innocent friendship. I should definitely apologize to Marcus for questioning his intentions. Relief flooded her face like water through a broken dam. She probably thought she'd won. Thank you, sweetheart, she said, genuine warmth in her voice. I knew you'd come around once you calmed down. This is exactly why I love you. You're mature enough to admit when you're wrong. She settled back in her chair, satisfied. Already composing the story she'd tell Marcus about her paranoid husband. I dialed his number, put it on speaker, set the phone on the counter between us. Rachel watched, approving, as it rang. Once, twice, 3 times. This was her vindication, her chance to prove me wrong. Hey there, beautiful. Marcus's voice filled the kitchen like gas leaking through a vent. Is the clueless bastard finally asleep? Been thinking about you all morning since our coffee date yesterday. We should sneak out tonight, like last weekend when he pulled that overtime shift. Can't wait to get you alone again. Silence. The kind you could cut with a knife. Rachel's mug slipped from her fingers, shattered on the tile. Coffee spreading across the floor like the truth finally surfacing after months buried. Rachel? Still there, gorgeous? Your husband didn't catch on, did he? Guy's so trusting it's sad. Wear that black dress tonight. The one that drives me crazy. Finally get my hands on you without worrying about that fool coming home early. I looked at my wife. Really looked. Mouth open. Color gone from her face like someone had pulled a plug. My devoted wife. My best friend. Caught, mid-affair, while I worked overtime for the house renovation she'd been asking for. Here's your apology call, I said, sliding the phone toward her shaking hands. Marcus kept going, oblivious. Rachel, hello? But dial? Either way, I'm already excited for tonight. That hotel room's got a jacuzzi. Brought the champagne you love. Perfect evening, while your pathetic husband thinks you're visiting your sick grandmother in Phoenix. She grabbed the phone. Ended the call. Too late. The words hung in the kitchen air like smoke after a fire that had already taken everything. Every late night. Every excuse. Every fake book club meeting. All of it. Exposed. In one phone call she demanded I make. Ethan, please, let me explain. Tears now. The kind that might have worked on me a week ago. But finding out your wife's been cheating while making you feel guilty for noticing has a way of changing how you feel about tears. It's not what you think. We haven't done anything physical. Just emotional support. Marcus understands me. I was confused. Just emotional support. Sure. That's why they've booked a jacuzzi suite, and he's calling me a pathetic fool on speaker. Where were you last weekend? You said you were helping your sister move. My voice stayed calm. Inside I was a volcano about to blow. More sobbing. We just had dinner. Walked the waterfront. Talked about us. About whether I was really happy or just going through the motions. Rewriting the affair as therapy. Betrayal dressed up as self-discovery. Something about betrayal changes you. Not just the heart. It rewires how you see everything. Standing there, surrounded by broken ceramic, something cold woke up in me. The naive version of myself, the one who'd been played for months, was gone. You're right, I said again. Hope flickered in her wet eyes. We have been distant. I understand why you'd look elsewhere. This is on me too. She looked relieved. Thought she'd shifted the blame. We can fix this, Ethan. Couples counseling. That vacation we talked about. I'll cut off Marcus completely. I nodded. Pulled her into what she thought was a reconciliation hug. She melted against me, certain she'd dodged the worst outcome of her life. I love you so much, she whispered. I'm so sorry. It was a moment of weakness. It's okay, I whispered back, stroking her hair. We'll figure this out. I forgive you. And I meant it, because I was about to give her exactly what her actions had been asking for, even if she didn't know it yet. She'd made one mistake in all this. She thought I was still the same husband who'd never question her, who'd swallow any excuse. But betrayal opens your eyes. The late nights that always lined up with Marcus's schedule, the sudden yoga obsession, always at the most convenient hours. Or how she'd started caring more about her appearance. New clothes, extra time on hair and makeup for casual errands. The signs had been scattered everywhere. I'd just been too trusting, too busy, too stupid to connect them. But now my eyes were open. I was watching everything. Every word. Every flicker across her face. That evening, she made my favorite dinner. Homemade lasagna, garlic bread, Caesar salad. We watched a rom-com on the couch, her head on my shoulder, like nothing had happened. To anyone looking in, we were just a couple working through a rough patch. In a way, that's exactly what we were doing, just not the way she thought. She slept peacefully that night, probably dreaming about how well she'd handled the crisis. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, planning. First, I needed the full picture. How long had this been going on? How far it had actually gone? What Rachel actually wanted, to fix things, or to keep me as a safety net while she kept Marcus on the side. The next few days were some of the hardest of my life. Smiling, acting normal, while quietly processing months of lies. Try holding a cheerful face while your whole world is coming apart. It's like grinning through a root canal. But I needed the performance. Confront too soon, and she'd have time to delete messages. Get her story straight with Marcus. Maybe move money before I could protect myself. Better to let her think she'd won while I quietly built the case. 3 days after the speakerphone call, Rachel came home wearing a guilty look she probably thought passed for casual. "Hey, sweetheart," she said, avoiding eye contact, fidgeting with her keys. "I need to see my grandmother in Phoenix this weekend. She's not doing well. Might have to stay till Monday." Her grandmother in Phoenix. The exact same cover story Marcus had let slip on speaker. The audacity was almost artistic. "That sounds important," I said, kissing her forehead like the trusting husband she needed me to be. "Give her my love. I'll catch up on some work, maybe finally organize the garage." She practically glowed with relief. Spent Friday night packing outfits I'd never once seen at our own dinners. Saturday morning, she drove off with a wave, promising to call every evening from her grandmother's bedside. I waited 30 minutes, then started my own weekend. Considerably more detective work than garage organizing. First stop, the phone company, for 3 months of Rachel's call and text records. The rep hesitated until I explained I was the account holder checking for unauthorized activity on her line. The records painted a picture worse than I'd imagined. Hundreds of texts to Marcus's number, most sent during her working late nights. Hours of calls, timed suspiciously well with her bathroom breaks and sudden need for fresh air mid-conversation. The digital trail showed a pattern going back at least 4 months, possibly longer. But the financial records were worse. Our joint credit card, dinners I'd never been to, a boutique hotel charge from the exact weekend she was helping her sister, lingerie purchases on her lunch breaks. Rachel had been funding the affair with our money while lying to my face about work and family. Saturday afternoon, I sat down with a divorce attorney who specialized in adultery and financial cases. She walked me through my options, how to protect shared assets, how to document infidelity without crossing into anything illegal. Sunday evening, Rachel called, right on schedule, voice full of manufactured concern. "Grandma's a bit better today," she said. Probably lying naked in Marcus's hotel bed as she said it. "But I think I should stay till Tuesday, just to be safe. You understand, right? Family first." "Of course," I said. "Take all the time you need. She's lucky to have you." The irony was thick enough to spread on toast. She didn't catch it. Tuesday, she came home glowing. I recognized it now for what it actually was. "How's Grandma?" I asked, carrying her suitcase upstairs. It felt heavier than when she'd left. "Much better," she said, easy as anything. She was so grateful I came. Really made me think about not taking the people you love for granted. Turning a weekend of cheating into a lesson on family values. Masterful. Over dinner, she gave a whole performance. Holding Grandma's hand. Deep conversations about commitment. Either she was a natural storyteller or she'd rehearsed hard, because the details never slipped. "Grandma said marriage is work," she said, squeezing my hand across the table. "That people grow apart without meaning to. I've been thinking about us, Ethan. About how we protect what we have." Marriage advice, secondhand from her affair partner, dressed up as grandmotherly wisdom. Almost impressive. Here's what she didn't know. While she was gone, I wasn't organizing the garage. The divorce papers were already sitting in my lawyer's office. Our joint accounts had been quietly split, so she couldn't drain them once this broke open. Every lie, every charge, every deception, documented, dated, ready. "You're right," Marriage takes effort from both sides, I said, nodding. I did some thinking this weekend too. About trust, honesty. She looked pleased. Probably thought she'd steered me right where she wanted me, taking on the blame while she kept the affair going, consequence-free. What kind of thinking? What kind of thinking? She asked, leaning in, all warm curiosity, like we were having some meaningful heart-to-heart about our future. Completely confident, she still controlled the narrative. She'd fooled me for months, after all, until Marcus's accidental confession on speaker. I've been thinking about what happens to a relationship once one person starts lying, I said. Calm. I pulled out my phone and opened the folder of screenshots, our credit card statements. Like how expensive dinners keep showing up on our shared account on nights I'm working late, and you're supposedly at your sick relative's bedside. Or a book club that, as far as I can tell, doesn't exist. The color drained out of her face fast. Her fork hit the plate with a sound like breaking glass. She stared at the screen, hotel charges, dinner receipts, dates that lined up exactly with her girls' nights. And her mouth opened and closed with nothing coming out. Ethan, I can explain those charges. I held up a hand before she could start building another story. You can explain 4 months of secret dinners? Hotel charges? Lingerie purchases that had nothing to do with our marriage? I kept scrolling, page after page. You can explain hundreds of texts and hours of calls to Marcus while you were supposedly working on us. She started crying then. Real tears, this time, but not remorse. Panic. She wasn't sorry for the lying, the money, the months of betrayal. She was sorry she'd been caught. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she sobbed, reaching for my hands. I pulled them back before she could touch me. I love you, Ethan. I never stopped. Marcus he made me feel wanted, in a way I hadn't felt with you lately. It was never about replacing you. It was about filling something I didn't know how to talk about. There it was again. My fault somehow. My failure to make her feel valued enough. Apparently justifying 4 months of theft and lies. Rachel, I need you to pack tonight and leave, I said. Calm, in a way that surprised even me. The divorce papers get filed tomorrow morning. From here on, talk to my attorney. The tears turned instantly into pleading. Promises to change. Offers of counseling. Even a threat about what she might do to herself if I didn't give her another chance. But trust doesn't come back from tears once it's been broken like that. She'd made her choice, every day, for 4 months. Marcus over our marriage. Lies over honesty. She'd had 100 chances to end things honestly. Instead, she chose to make me apologize to the man she was sleeping with, funded on our joint account. That kind of calculation wasn't something I could ever forgive. The following weeks blurred into lawyers, asset division, and untangling a life built on lies. Rachel kept working the mutual friends and family, spinning herself as a confused woman who'd made a mistake but still deserved another shot. She sent long emails full of regret, detailed plans for counseling, for lifestyle changes, for total transparency going forward. She had her family call me, how devastated she was, how she'd cut off Marcus completely, how she'd earn my trust back through action, not words. But I'd learned something about myself in those months of being lied to. I wasn't the kind of man who rebuilds a life with someone capable of that kind of calculated cruelty. Every promise she was making now had been available to her before the affair. Honesty shouldn't be an emergency measure you deploy after getting caught. It should have just been the marriage. 6 months later, the divorce was final. Clean split, no ongoing obligations. Rachel found her own apartment, her own job, and her own place in a community that now knew exactly what she'd done. The house felt empty at first, full of reminders of a future we'd planned that no longer existed. But that emptiness turned into something else over time. Freedom from constant suspicion. Relief from pretending everything was fine while my marriage rotted underneath me. Peace, knowing the person sharing my home was actually who she said she was. A year after the divorce, I started dating again. Carefully at first. I met Olivia at a volunteer literacy program. She was a librarian, quick laugh, refreshingly direct. The opposite of Rachel's careful performances. When Olivia said she was tired, she looked tired. When she said she loved something, you could see it. When she made plans, she kept them. Trust, actual trust, turned out to be a different thing entirely from what I'd had before. Olivia and I could just talk about problems instead of circling them. Decide things together instead of one of us running a hidden agenda. 2 years in, I proposed. Same park where Rachel and I had gotten engaged years earlier. This time it felt solid. Olivia's tears were real. Her Her excitement was about who I actually was, not some version she'd invented. Our wedding was everything the first marriage never managed to be. Honest, surrounded by people who actually meant it. The best revenge against someone who betrays you like that isn't some elaborate scheme. It's building something better with someone who actually deserves it. Someone who chooses you, every day, instead of running a second life behind your back. Rachel wanted the thrill of it, the deception, the double life. She got the consequences that come with it. Divorce, a ruined reputation in a town that doesn't forget, and the knowledge that she burned down something good for a man who, as it turned out, was just using her. I got the better half of that trait. Sometimes, having coffee with Olivia on the porch, watching her work in the garden she planted, I think back to that morning Rachel demanded I apologize to Marcus. Strange thing to be grateful for, but I am. Without that accidental confession on speaker, I might have spent years more inside her lie. She chose temporary excitement over something permanent. I chose to build something real with someone who actually wanted to be there. We both got exactly what we chose.